Hey guys, it's Julia. Welcome back to my channel. I actually haven't filmed in quite a few weeks, so this feels very weird. If I stutter a lot, I'm so sorry, editing Julia. She's gonna have like an hour and a half of footage to cut out. Today's video is one I got the idea for a while ago, but it took me a while to just kind of put together. But all the time you guys are recommending me products that you guys think I would like in the comment sections or on Instagram, etc. And through that, some of your favorites have become some of my holy grail favorites. These are a little different. Some of these aren't like necessarily your guys' favorites. They're just products that you guys thought I would like based on like my tastes you become accustomed to on my videos. Today we're gonna be going through products that you guys recommended me that you thought I would like versus what I actually think of those products. And I hope it comes out well. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Today's Dew Fairy of the Day is a very special one, Sally Choi. Sally has been a long-time subscriber. She's also a woman in medicine. We've talked quite a bit and she's so sweet. So thank you so much for always supporting my videos, Sally. Full details of this look should already be on Instagram. Very Slytherin vibes today. Kind of loving it. And without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Thank you for recommending me some of these products. Let's roast some of them. Okay, first up I have to review something. I'm a clown. This one was partially something that you guys wanted me to test out, but also something that I was interested in testing out, and I feel so cheated. This is the Becca Zero No Pigment Virtual Foundation. So I talked about this in a like chatty new makeup releases video, and the comment section was warning me like, don't get it, it's gonna be a scam. But I was interested in the concept. So basically it's this kind of like clear, balmy, basically kind of like a silicone-y smoothing texture primer, but it was basically supposed to act as a foundation substitute that would like blur out your imperfections in your face, so you wouldn't have to use a pigment like color foundation, but you would still kind of get like a blurred out effect that foundation would give you. It wasn't supposed to be like a color matching technology or anything, which I hate. And I said in that video, like, if this actually works, this could like revolutionize the way I do my face.
Child. Anyway, so
I'm actually wearing out my face right now, but basically I did like a no foundation look today because this literally does nothing. I was thinking that if it didn't actually work the way that it said it would be like a silicone primer. It doesn't even do the smoothing stuff that a silicone primer would. I really feel like it was just an extra layer on top of my moisturizer. I wouldn't say it made my skin look bad, but it also didn't do what it promised to at all. I can't see how they got the results in the pictures that they advertised with just this product. And I don't think that they use just this product, but it's expensive and it also doesn't do any of the things that it promised to. I'm just mad about it. It didn't make my face look awful, but it did nothing, basically, and I feel very scammed. And stupid. I feel like they really marketed this new technology, and normally I don't fall for gimmicky things like that, or even when I do, I'm like, it's probably not gonna work out, but I'm still gonna try it out anyways. But this one I had actual high hopes for, and I feel stupid for having those high hopes. This is gonna have to do. I know I look like an egg, but it's 100 degrees here. This is one that you guys did not steer me wrong on, however. This is the Colourpop Little Ray of Sunshine palette. The amount of tags that I got on this one on Instagram, astronomical. Clearly I've waxed poetic about the neutral side of the Milk Cosmetics Gemini palette far too often, because apparently we all know that yellow tone neutrals are just my favorite thing, especially in an all matte palette, especially with sunflower packaging. So I was very excited about this one when I got it. This is probably the best thing Colourpop has released in the entire year. Formula in here is very, very good. So much to a point where I would say even if you've tried Colourpop's older palettes, I think the matte formula in here is better than those. I felt like the matte formula in the Yes Please palette was very, very powdery, but didn't have that like nice blendability that I would expect from a very powdery formula. So I feel like Anastasia's formula is very powdery, but you can still blend it really beautifully, whereas that one was just a little bit harder to work with. This is lovely. They're creamy, they're pigmented without being hard to blend or anything. I just feel like they diffuse really nicely. I really like the color selection in here. I feel like you can do very like bright kind of yellowy sunflower looks, as well as something very, very neutral that doesn't even look like it came out of a yellow palette like this. You guys know me very well, and you were right. I did love this one. A while ago in an eyeshadow palette declutter video, I was talking about the Kylie Cosmetics purple palette and how I was only keeping it for the lavender shade in the middle. I did end up decluttering that one a while ago, and honestly I haven't missed it because I have other lilacs in my collection now that I use more often. But the reason I decided to declutter it back then was because I said I'm gonna go buy a single lavender and then I'll be fine with not having it. Number one lilac single that you guys recommended in the comment section was the Sugarpill single in Velouria. I believe this was one of their limited edition colors. They might have since made it permanent though. Anyway, Sugarpill Pro Pan's very, very nice and big. You get a lot of product in here as well. It's a pretty deep pan, and it is quite a beautiful lavender shade, so I wasn't super impressed. I do feel like it's a little bit creamier and just easier to work with than other Sugarpill shades, so Like, this swatches a lot better than most Sugarpill shadows do. Sugarpill Pro Pans swatch like ass. They're very, very dry formula, but they look amazing on the eyes somehow. They just swatch disgustingly. This is basically the exact same shade as the Solman palette Lilac from Odin's Eye. However, this I feel like is also very creamy, is also not super powdery, but has just a way better formula and more pigmentation to it. So honestly, I wasn't super impressed, and because I have the Solman palette, I don't really use this very often, so I think I'm probably gonna sell this on Poshmark or something, which sucks. It was like $12 for a single shadow, and I kind of justified it because it was such a big pan that I was like, oh, I'll probably use it. No. It is a beautiful tone though, so it did kind of fill the gap until I got the Odin's Eye palette in like early March this year, I want to say, and ever since I've just been using that one if I want a lavender shade. When it first came out, this was another one that you guys were thinking I was going to really like, so this is the Laneige Glowy Makeup Serum, and it's basically like a primer in a serum form. It's a kind of like sticky, clear base to it, and I feel like it does really have this kind of tacky finish that once it dries down can grip your foundation pretty well. I wouldn't say the glow is insane or anything, like something we're going to talk about in a second. And given that I tend to like Laneige products, I was really expecting this to be like a new favorite primer for me. I don't know, it was another product that didn't overwhelm me by any means, just whelmed. It just kind of felt like I'd put serum on my face as an extra step in my skincare routine and then put makeup on top of that rather than put on like a glowy makeup primer. So this honestly wasn't my favorite. Again, kind of like the Becca thing, it didn't make my skin look bad by any means when I used it, but it also was just like, I've been kind of interested in trying this out for a long time, but never really bit the bullet. But these are the Huda Beauty Matte and Metal Shadows. It's a little duo. You get a metallic shade on one side and then a liquid matte eyeshadow on the other side. I don't really use like liquid matte shades very often. Whenever I go for liquid eyeshadow, it's usually going to be a very glittery shade. But I was kind of interested in trying this out, especially because I've long railed against the Stay Glitter and Glows, and a lot of people said that these were a lot better of a formula and dried out less quickly, so I was pretty interested. I have the shade Private Jet and Shimmering Sunset, so kind of the most like basic duo of them all. I know they have some fun pastel shades as well. Basically, I'm not passionate about it.
I don't know. I just, sort of, who are you now? What happened?
The matte shade was okay. I didn't feel like it blended easily enough for me to justify using this one as like an easier alternative than just using a powder shadow. But it did that thing that some of the liquid shimmer shadows do if they have a little bit of a thinner base to them, is that throughout the day, even though I don't necessarily have oily eyelids, they'll just kind of lift and in certain areas become kind of like clumped, and in other areas be this like transparentness that shows my actual like lid color underneath it. And I wouldn't necessarily call that patchy because it does apply in a very nice thin even layer when you first apply it, but if you kind of like blink the wrong way while it's still drying, or even after it's dried down and you think you have it like locked down and looking good, you just like look in the mirror throughout the day and you're like, oh. Ugh. So yeah, I didn't really vibe with this. I can appreciate the shimmer shade being very high impact but a little bit of a thinner formula, whereas I feel like some other liquid glitter type shadows like this are a little bit thicker and just like you feel them more in the eyes. This was a lot more weightless, I guess, but it does have its drawbacks as well. So yeah, no. Pretty packaging though. Good job, Huda. Two different liquid highlighters with two very different effects. So this was around the beginning of my Queen of the Dew phase, which we're still in now, and I was basically using the term glass skin as a punctuation mark. So the first thing that was recommended to me almost immediately when it came out was the Quan Glass Glow Face Illuminator. I was expecting to like this too, so I don't blame you. Granted, I do think this is meant to be a little bit more of an editorial product, so I can see how the application would be different and how maybe you might like to have something genuinely wet and kind of sticky on your cheekbone for a very editorial shoot where your hair is like swooshed back out of your face. However, I feel like it was also marketed towards mainstream audiences who maybe want to have like a nice beautiful glass glowy illuminated look, don't want their hair sticking to their face throughout the day. This is basically like putting a lip gloss on your cheeks, the same way that hair kind of like migrates to your lip gloss whenever you're wearing it. This did not dry down on my cheeks. It gave me a really beautiful like wet looking glow. Anything honestly would just kind of stick to your cheekbones. Plus it's just a texture that really does not play well with pigmented products, so I didn't feel like I could use this one on top of foundation at all. Even like powder blush and powder bronzer, I felt like this one would move around if it kind of intersected with where I put my highlighter. Like glazed all over your chest I think could be beautiful, but also it's expensive, so I would just kind of expect it to be a little bit more of a user-friendly formula, but alas. However, this was another subscriber recommendation that just blew me away. The Anastasia Liquid Glow, my shade is Perla, and I actually got this one at TJ Maxx, and I try not to go to the makeup section when I shop there just because I feel like the discounted makeup section in TJ Maxx can have some really good gems, but also I feel like a lot of the time you go in there and you're just like, oh, this is $12 and it's actually $24. I'm getting such a good deal, but you didn't even want this Too Faced ugly lipstick in the first place. However, this, I feel like I got such a good deal on it. It was a very, very underrated, underhyped product from Anastasia. It did come out in kind of what I like to call the golden age of ABH before its very fast fall from grace. But I remember when this came out, I know Amrezy did the promo pictures, and I think this was very much marketed towards pro makeup artists, which maybe is why it kind of underperformed in terms of the makeup community itself, because I don't feel like liquid highlighters get a lot of attention whenever they come out. But this formula is so pretty, plays really, really well with foundations, and it has the very finely milled effect of the Cover FX drops, but I don't feel like it looks metallic and fakey on the cheekbones as those ones did. I feel like those ones kind of verge on Tin Man, whereas this is a lot more of a natural glow. So it kind of reminds me of a slightly amped up version of the Glossier Night Shine highlighters. This actually gives you like a wet glass glow on the cheekbones without like sticking and being actually wet on the cheekbones. So thank you to whoever told me that I would probably like this. You were very right. I love this. And I'll do another success story before we get into a few others I didn't like. This was a recommendation from the comment section. Someone commented you'll probably really enjoy the e.l.f. Aqua Cheek Duos. And I was kind of interested when I saw these because I remember probably one of the first makeup products I ever bought on my own for myself was in like 8th grade, and it was one of these e.l.f. duos from Target. Back then it was like $3 for the duo. I think it's like $5 now. It was a powder bronzer and a kind of like peachy tone blush, and I had that for like so long. I want to say I threw it out maybe last year. I wasn't using it last year, but I was like, I can't throw this out. It was like one of my first makeup products. It was smelly. Again, I don't feel like cream cheek products really get a lot of attention whenever they come out. I think that's changed a little bit this year. I think people are starting to realize that dewy skin looks better than matte. And I've seen a few cream cheek products coming out and people really being excited about them. I would say the star of the show in here is definitely the bronzer. This kind of reminds me of the texture of the Hourglass Illume Sheer Color Trio. So my beloved Hourglass Trio, obviously these don't really overlap in terms of color. The blush is a lot more bright toned, but I think this is probably the closest you can get to the formula of this. And obviously a lot less expensive. I would say this duo was like $6 when I bought it, so it's probably the same, honestly. I don't feel like e.l.f. has been hiking their prices a lot, whereas Colourpop has been getting up there. And the blush is really lovely too. I think this is a little bit more of like a Colourpop Super Shock texture, where it's like a cream to powder blush. Looks really bright when I swatched it, but I feel like it blends really, really nicely, and it's pretty easy to get nice diffusion of this blush. Honestly, I'm thinking about doing the next episode of 5 Best Buy Worst on e.l.f. Cosmetics, so let me know if you want to see that, because this would probably most definitely be in the 5 best. This is so good and so underrated, so thank you to whoever recommended this. Obviously, I'm very much a nude lipstick fiend, and I obviously love and talk about a decent number of Charlotte Tilbury makeup products. So the Pillow Talk lipstick has come up in many different comment sections. I finally picked it up when it came in as a points perk on Sephora, so thank God I didn't spend any money on this tiny lipstick. And I would define this as a kind of vaguely rosy tone nude. So this is a beautiful color. I really enjoy this. However, I was kind of surprised I didn't like the formula of this lipstick very much. I felt like the color is so natural and so beautiful and rosy. For some reason, when I applied it on the lips, it just looked kind of weird. I think it was probably the texture of the lipstick, but it just didn't sit really nicely on the lips. I felt like it just kind of looked off, and I've heard the same thing about some of the other Charlotte Tilbury lipstick colors, that they just don't sit nicely on the lips, and some others look really beautiful. So I think that might be a color by color inconsistency, and I've heard really good things about Pillow Talk, so maybe that might just be the fact that this is a mini. Sometimes minis can be different formulas from the bigger ones. Beautiful color. Honestly, I liked how the color looked on me. I just didn't like how the texture of the lipstick looked. So I don't really use this very often. Zoeva has been recommended to me for a long time on my channel. They're a European brand. They're also very big in Australia, so a lot of my international followers can get Zoeva pretty easily. And I got the Caramel Melange palette. I was really excited about this. This is a very much Julia color scheme, and to be quite honest, I didn't like the formula very much. The mattes were okay formula wise, but honestly I feel like the formula in this Colourpop palette are even better. The shimmers I really did not like. Even probably what was supposed to be the most high impact shimmer in here, which was a liquid center, I felt like had this just kind of, oh, I mean, of course it looks beautiful when I swatch it. Of course it would betray me on camera like that. But it just kind of lost luster throughout the day, so I felt like it looked really beautiful when I first applied it, but then throughout the day I would look and I'd be like, oh, it's not really a shimmer shade anymore. It just kind of looks like an orange shade that I put on my eyelids. It would lose some of that shine and just kind of look more like this at the end of the day. And I think that would just be mostly due to the fact that this is a bit of a softer shimmer formula, but I've also heard that this is like one of the best palettes in their line, so wasn't super impressed with the Caramel Melange palette. I would be willing to try Zoeva again just to give them another shot. But this was kind of disappointing, especially because I'd heard so many good things about them. Like, I got into YouTube around the time that the cocoa blend palette was like the thing to have. So I was very excited, didn't do that much for me. This is something I've unintentionally kept a secret, but this is like my favorite lip product that I never talk about because it never is on my vanity. It's always in my purse. So when it's a purse product, you know it's good. But this is the Burt's Bees Hibiscus Tinted Lip Balm. I believe I was talking in like a video 2 years ago about how I wanted just a perfect like rosy toned, vaguely tinted lip balm to throw into my bag. Someone recommended this and oh my god, you guys never miss. So this is the color. Obviously it's not like super pigmented or anything. It's like pinky, rosy toned, nudie, but also has a little bit of like an orange, almost like corally brown tone to it. So I feel like it looks really nice and natural on the lips. It's also a tinted lip balm that actually has some color to it, so I don't feel like it's a lipstick by any means, but I also don't feel like it gives me like a memory of pigment to it. Whoever recommended this on one of my old videos, they probably don't even watch me anymore, but thank you so much. Amazing. I don't really watch any of the YouTubers I watched 2 years ago, honestly. Maybe like Sophie Showhat is it, but my sub box has always been this kind of revolving door, and it's really interesting for me to see how much my taste has changed over the years. Confession, honestly, now I don't even watch beauty YouTube videos. Most of the content I watch is like fashion, like medical stuff, and like some of those like weird infographics, like Discovery Channel type things. I love those videos. Next up is another cream blush. This is the Milk Makeup lip and cheek thing. Anything that's lip and cheek, I automatically just use on the cheeks. But this was recommended because I talk so often about the Milk Makeup Baked Bronzer. First of all, I've got to say, the Milk Makeup minis, I don't really see how they can charge that much money. I feel like their minis are so expensive for the size, but this I was pretty excited to test out just because I really like the Milk Makeup bronzer, so I was pretty excited about the cream blush. And I have the shade Work. This, I have so many swatches and they all look the same because they're all the same like lip and cheek colors. That literally looks like the Burt's Bees balm that I just swatched. Less pigmented obviously than the e.l.f. one, but still blends really beautifully. I think this is a very subtle formula and a little bit dewier than I was expecting. The Milk Makeup bronzer, that's a matte finish. So even though it's cream and does look really natural, it does have a matte dry down, whereas this stays a little bit glowy, which I do enjoy. I like using this one. I don't use foundation underneath it, which is fine because I've kind of been going foundation free lately, but because this is a little bit more of like a glowy-ish formula, I don't think that this would interact that well with a lot of foundations unless you go in very lightly when you apply it. So that's the difference. I feel like the Milk Makeup Matte Cream Bronzer works really well on top of pigmented foundations. But yeah, you guys were right. I do enjoy this, but it isn't my favorite like cream blush by any means. I still think that goes to the Tower 28 and the Glossier Cloud Paints, oh my god. Imagine forgetting Jesus' name. This was recommended pretty frequently as a drugstore concealer pickup. This is the Flower Beauty Light Illusion Full Coverage Concealer. And if you're wanting like a very dewy concealer, this and maybe the Glossier concealer are what I would recommend. This I would say is not for the faint of heart if you don't want a pretty glowy finish. Same is true for the Light Illusion Foundation by Flower. That is a very dewy finish foundation, almost verging on looking oily at sometimes. But I really do like the way this looks on the under eyes. It's a nice thin formula. I feel like it sits really beautifully because it has that glowy finish to it. The glow kind of blends in, especially if you've kind of nicely hydrated your under eyes with some eye cream beforehand. I feel like everything just looks so seamless and beautiful. And for a dewy concealer, while it doesn't necessarily last as long as a matte one would, I do still feel like it has a lot of wear time. So that's it for this one. I'm not using it that often. I'm trying to pan a couple other concealers, but I do like this. Okay, and last but not least, I think one time, and it only took one time because Lush stands are like that, I complained about how I don't like a ton of Lush products, and my entire comment section was just Lush recommendations. Honestly, I'm not like ride or die on the Lush train, but these are good. Number one is a Sleepy Body Lotion. This is the most delightful lavender scent I've ever tested out. I have a fresh pot. I go through this fairly often. I have very bad sleep issues. I put this on at nighttime. I wouldn't say that it helps me go to sleep, but the scent is really beautiful and calming, and I think it's a really nice part of my nighttime ritual. So I do really like this a lot. And then the Lush Whipstick Balm. This is really interesting. I have the chocolate orange flavor. Never ever had any lip balm flavored like this before. It does kind of have the texture of like cocoa butter, so I can tell it's a very like natural lip balm. I don't know why I swatched it, like that was so purposeless. I feel like it's just stiff enough that I don't have to worry about it getting on my chin throughout the night and breaking me out. It's nice, it gives me a lot of moisture moisture on my lips, I wake up and I can still taste it and I still feel like my lips are nice and moisturized, where sometimes I'll wake up and my lips are just dry and I'm like, did I even apply lip balm last night? Who knows? But this is definitely a favorite from Lush, so thank you to whoever recommended that one. And that's it. Those are some of the products that you guys have recommended that you thought I would like. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for always recommending me a lot of good products. I know I went through a few duds in here, but seriously, some of my favorite things in my collection have been recommendations from you guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed down below. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And if you made it to the very end of this video, you get the bonus meme. Love you. Bye.
I am a woman in STEM. Bunsen burner. On. I am in my element when I study the elements, and I do it with gusto. NASA, call me.